Welcome to the Weather Guru Live podcast about Tropical Storm Francine. Welcome to the 5 p.m. update. Tropical Storm Francine is forecast to become a Category 1 hurricane. Max sustained winds are still at 65 miles an hour. Pressure is down to 987 millibars and is continuing its northeast movement at around 9 knots or 10 miles an hour. Tropical Storm Francine is forecast to bring heavy rainfall that's going to continue into the Louisiana coastline. The current path of this storm brings it right into Louisiana, which puts Baton Rouge and New Orleans on the eastern side of this storm. So this is going to provide a very big heavy rainmaker for those areas. Hurricane warnings are forecasted to be in effect for most of the Louisiana coastline from about Cameron, Louisiana, all the way back toward the mouth of the Mississippi River. Storm surge is expected to be around 5 to 10 feet in these areas. Now, what has changed is the track is continuing to shift eastward. The tropical storm force wind field, as you can see, is expanding, but the system is kind of disjointed, and so that's the good news. The bad news is that the system is going to bring heavy rainfall. Flooding is possible in New Orleans, Baton Rouge, Alexandria, those areas, and even into Mississippi as well, lower Mississippi up into Jackson as well. So you want to prepare for that. Make sure you have your preparations in place because it is going to be quite a heavy rainmaker for those areas. Now, this movement is going to forecast to speed up once it gets closer to landfall, sometime around 1 p.m., 3 p.m., probably between 1 to 3 p.m. on Wednesday afternoon. A landfall will be coming in. So that's something that's going to be very interesting too. Now, yes, it will be a Category 2, a low-end Category 2 with winds somewhere between 96 and 100 miles an hour when it makes that landfall. But the good news is it's going to rapidly weaken by Thursday morning, but it will still be in Louisiana area. So that means heavy rainfall for New Orleans, all the parishes south of New Orleans, as well as to the north toward Baton Rouge. You guys should really prepare for a heavy rainmaker. That's it. Now, looking at the other forecast, we have the Saharan dust layer that's starting to recede here off the coast of Africa, also in the central, the Caribbean Sea. The Saharan dust layer is receding, and that's why we're seeing more and more storms that are going to be forming in this time as we enter the peak of the hurricane season today, September 10th through October 10th as well. Looking at the current wind shear, you can see that there is Francine is in a low wind shear environment denoted with the blue colors here. So it's in a low wind shear environment. The water temperatures out here are still above 82 degrees Fahrenheit, and so it's in an environment where it has characteristics of strengthening. You can see it's going to ride along this trough here in the jet stream here, so it's going to be pushed northeastward, which is moving now at 10 knots toward the New Orleans area. So it looks like it's going to make landfall somewhere east of Cameron, Louisiana, and as a Category 2 storm. Now, just recapping here, flooding is the major concern here. At least 40% chance from Cameron to the mouth of the Mississippi River, New Orleans, Lake Pontchartrain. There will be some surge coming up in there as the system moves up above New Orleans, to the north of New Orleans, later on Wednesday night into Thursday morning, depending on the high tide cycle. So if you're in Baton Rouge, if you're in New Orleans, Alexandria, those areas should prepare for flooding rains. Jackson, Mississippi as well. Even Biloxi and Gulfport, Mississippi down here, you're going to get some surge as the water pushes into Pascagoula Bay in that area as well. Now, as the northeastern trend continues here, you can see the surge is going to be most heaviest here, right along Port Fourchon, back toward Cameron, Louisiana, and Vermilion Bay. 5 to 10 feet of surge expecting in here. So if you're on the coast, you definitely want to evacuate from that area, because Category 2 storm is going to push that water up into those bays. 3 to 5 feet from Lake Pontchartrain all the way back to the mouth of Mississippi River, 2 to 4 feet along there. Still pretty good heavy surge out there, but that's the surge forecast the National Hurricane Center has right now. Now, looking back at the track, you can see that the hurricane force winds, the tropical storm force winds do extend out at least 120 miles from the center here. We're going to get the effect here. We're going to get the exact numbers here. But the tropical storm force winds extend out 140 miles from the center. It hasn't developed that eye yet for the hurricane that as it was anticipated earlier this morning. It has not developed that eye and it has not become a Category 1 hurricane yet. But it is forecast to become one sometime tonight, probably by the 11 p.m. advisory. The system will be strengthening enough as it moves that northeastern track, as it continues along the northeastern track. But the pressure is still holding at 987 millibars as of the latest update. We get another update at 8 p.m. Eastern time, 7 p.m. Central Daylight Time. So we have 140 miles of tropical storm force winds. None of that is affecting any of the Texas or Louisiana coastline just yet, as you can see denoted in orange. Some of it is was affecting the northern northeastern Mexico coast, as you can see. But the rainfall potential here is very high here. Once again, like I said, from New Orleans back on those western and southern parishes, you guys are going to get anywhere from 8 to 12 inches of rain guaranteed in that spot as the system tracks northeast, because it's interacting with a front here, the jet boundary, and a frontal boundary here, a trough, I should say, and that's going to be interacting with it, and that's going to lift it to the north very quickly through the Mississippi Valley into the Tennessee Valley. So if you're in New Orleans, Baton Rouge, along I-10, I-12, Alexandria, those areas, you guys are going to get heavy rainfall along the coast here, south of New Orleans. If you're in Houma and some of these parishes down here toward the south, you're going to get a lot of rain, 6 to 8 inches of rain, and somebody's going to get over a foot of rain in that area in eastern parishes of Louisiana, guaranteed here, probably heading up here along towards the Mississippi border here as well. Heavy rain denoted in that orange. So that's what's going to be the main threat with Hurricane or Tropical Storm Francine, is the rainfall threat. The winds, yes, it's going to be a Category 2. It's not going to be a major hurricane. That is the good news as well. As you can see, it was forecasted a couple of days ago to be a major hurricane, but that's not going to be the case here. And it's going to be accelerating quite fast here. By Friday and Saturday, it's well up into the Ohio Valley as a depression. So that's a good news too. It's going to be a quick hitting, quick moving system here. And that's something that we should be thankful for. However, you want to be prepared along this coastline here for 5 to 10 feet of surge here coming into the Louisiana coastline and the wetlands down there. And flooding range is going to be a big problem here. Houston, you're in the clear. Beaumont, you're in the clear. Lake Charles, you're in the clear. You're on the western side, the cleaner side, the weaker side, the softer side. So you guys are most likely be in the clear here. Sometime tomorrow, they'll probably drop some of those little watches here along the Beaumont and Lake Charles area, and they'll probably downgrade it to a tropical storm watch or something like that. But the hurricane watches will remain in red here. And so if you're anywhere from Cameron, Louisiana, back toward the Vermilion Bay, over toward the mouth of the Mississippi River, that's the bullseye for this thing to make a landfall on late Wednesday afternoon. Sometime between 2 and 4 p.m. Wednesday, it'll be on the coastline, making that landfall there as a Category 2 right now. So winds anywhere between 96 to 100 miles an hour, and then it quickly decrease to a tropical storm north of New Orleans here once again. And that will bring tropical storm conditions will continue. But this is a fast mover. It's not going to be one that's going to be lingering around like a Beryl or a Harvey or something like that. But it will be lingering. It will be moving fast up through the mid-Mississippi Valley and the Ohio Valley, and we'll be done with it here. Once again, the movement has been steady all day at northeast at 10 miles an hour. The main message is, like I said, once again, with this system, this is going to be storm surge, and the flooding is going to be a huge concern as well. The winds will die down quickly once it makes landfall, obviously, but there's still going to be some damage, obviously, along the coastline wherever it makes landfall in Louisiana. But we want to say the heavy rainfall is the major concern here, not only for eastern Louisiana and Mississippi, but also even into Mobile, places like Mobile and Pensacola. You guys could get 2 to 4, and maybe 3 inches, 4 inches, 5 inches of rain here out of the system because it's so east side loaded. The whole system is east side loaded. So you get the first round of rain, heavy rain, starting tomorrow morning into tomorrow night, and then that main landfall rain comes in Wednesday. The second batch comes in, and it's going to bring in heavy rainfall, flooding, flash flooding into that zone as well. So you want to be watching out for that as again. So you can see here the probabilities for the tropical storm force winds. It's 100% certainty here in the Vermilion Bay, and in New Orleans it's still pretty high, 70 to 80% chance that you guys in the New Orleans metro as well as Alexandria, Baton Rouge, that you will experience tropical storm force winds 120 hours out from now. That's definitely the case. So you want to bring in your sensitive furniture, plants, animals. You want to board up a little bit if you do believe that, because tropical storm force winds could be anywhere from 39 to 73 miles an hour sustained. Gusts could be some hurricane force gusts that could be affecting with Francine along the coastline of Louisiana as well. So you want to be making preparations for that as well in those bays and inlets there. You want to tie down your boats, moorings, and all that, because it's going to be 5 to 10 foot of surge coming in, as well as waves on top of that. And that's going to last for the duration of Wednesday into Thursday morning. And then things will start subsiding late Thursday afternoon and Thursday night. And then start, subsiding, of course, Friday. By then, things will be all set and done. It'll just be cloudy and overcast and very humid for what's left of that southerly Gulf Coast flow that's going to be pushing in that moisture off the Gulf Coast there. So we also have out here, I want to say, we also have, in lieu of Francine, we have another named storm out here that could potentially be the H named storm, Helene. That's going to be out here. This one has a high chance of development. Second disturbance just west of the Cabo Verde Islands in 7 days. So that could be a Helene. That could be the next named storm. We have a 30% chance. This one is low. This one's getting entrained in Saharan dust layer and dry air. And it's just a little bit too north latitudes here to develop. But the one behind it here, this second disturbance, this could be Helene coming up here by Friday of by next week, Tuesday or Wednesday, we could have Helene coming up here, rolling around here in the eastern Atlantic here as well. So that's what's going on. Elsewhere in the eastern Pacific, we don't have nothing going on. Just a little disturbance here that's going to be moving away from land, typical of the eastern Pacific this time of year. But that's also could be a named storm. Central Pacific, you guys in Hawaii, you guys are looking great. But Francine is the main story of the day. Like I said, it's still not going to be a hurricane right now. It's trying to get organized. It's poorly organized here, but it can be a hurricane. Coming up sometime, I wouldn't say the 11 p.m. advisory, but probably by the 5 a.m. advisory tomorrow morning. It should be a hurricane, a borderline Category 1 hurricane, and as it tries to intensify and beat out this dry air layer and this wind shear. This wind shear here, there is a little bit of shear where it's at right now. You can see the purple here. It's fighting that shear on the eastern side, that purple color there. But around here, this light wind shear as it approaches the coast, and that's what the Hurricane Center has it upgraded to when it gets closer to the Louisiana coastline to a Category 2, probably a low end. So maybe anywhere between 95, something like that, maybe 100 miles an hour. Possible, and then it'll quickly degrade, quickly weaken as it passes by to the northwest of New Orleans, the downtown area, possibly, depending on how close it gets or where it makes landfall. But New Orleans and Baton Rouge, you're going to be on that eastern side. That means the heavy rains and the flooding, as well as gusty winds and possible tornadic action could be possible from New Orleans up to Jackson, Mississippi. So you want to make plans for that as well, because these systems, when they make landfall, they put on the eastern and north side and the northeastern side, they have tornadoes that could spin up as well. And that could provide, at nighttime, since it's going to be making landfall on Wednesday afternoon, sometime between 2 p.m. and 4 p.m., it's going to accelerate. So that means at nighttime, there could be some nighttime spin-ups, tornadoes, anywhere from New Orleans, Baton Rouge, Alexandria, Jackson, Mississippi, even over towards Biloxi, Hattiesburg, Mobile. You guys are not out of the clear too, because you're going to be on that eastern circulation side, and that's the part where the tornadoes could be spinning up there quickly and causing some damage. But flooding range is the major issue with Francine here. Winds are at 60,000 miles an hour. Like I said, it's going to become a hurricane probably by 5 a.m. tomorrow morning. Winds probably be increasing to 75 to 80 miles an hour. I do not foresee rapid intensification for this system, because even though it's close to the coastline, it's not going to become a major hurricane, because it is fighting some dry air in the interaction with a trough to the north. The jet stream, it's just they're not going to have enough time to become a major hurricane, but it will become a Category 2 for sure, and it's going to be making its way towards there. So once again, flash flooding in that area from Jackson, New Orleans, Biloxi, Hattiesburg, back toward Alexandria, along I-10 and I-12, Lake Pontchartrain. The flooding is a major concern in that zone, and that's why the Hurricane Center is giving it at least a 40% chance of flash flooding. Houston, you're in the clear. Beaumont, you're in the clear. The Matagorda Bay, all that, you guys are in the clear. You will get some rain from the system, but not much, because you're going to be on the western side, the more drier side, the weaker side of the system, as you will. But this is what we have going on with Francine here. As you can see, the dust layer is cleared. You can see the wind shear here is going to be light toward the coast, denoted in this blue color, but there's fighting wind shear right now, and that's why it hasn't developed into a Category 1 or Category 2 hurricane right now. You can see in this purple right along the center of the circulation here, it's fighting through that. That's going to take about another couple of hours, possibly into the morning. So possibly sometime Wednesday morning by 5 a.m., that next advisory Wednesday morning we get early in the morning, it should be getting to be a Category 1 hurricane with winds around 75 or 80 miles an hour. And then it'll slowly strengthen to Category 2 before it gets into the New Orleans metro area. And that's when it's going to be a Category 2. It went somewhere around 100 miles an hour. And then things all, distance will deteriorate, but then it'll weaken back down to a tropical storm as it passes through the northwest suburbs, or northwest area, I guess, of New Orleans and Baton Rouge. And then it comes up into Mississippi as a tropical storm. So if you're in that area, please take precautions for be concerned, because we're all on the eastern side of this system. So that means that tornadoes are possible in that area. Anybody in Hattiesburg, Biloxi, New Orleans, Jackson, Mobile, look out for tornadoes on Wednesday night, especially as the sun goes down between 6 and 10 p.m. Midnight, should say, as the system passes like this above you and that eastern side there, and weakens and continues to weaken. Now, that's what we have going on there as well. Now, as far as the I want to show you the other forecast here if I can. I want to show you not the peak forecast. I'm going to go back to the graphic here. I want to show you one more thing here before I go. If you have any questions, please If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments here. I want to show you here, this graphic here. What is going to happen is that the tropical storm force warnings here, the system is still shifting eastward. So it's possible that New Orleans could be the center of circulation could be closer to New Orleans than previously forecast, because they're still shifting the cone eastward. So folks in New Orleans, be prepared for power outages as well. Power outages is going to be something that's going to be pretty significant in New Orleans and the parishes to the south of New Orleans and to the east of New Orleans toward the Mississippi border. So you guys need to be prepared for power outages. Have some flashlights. If you have those click lights from the dollar store, those solar powered lights that you click on, tap with your hand, get those, or candles or batteries, because power outages are going to be a certainty in that area as well as in the Mississippi as well, because you're going to have flooding rains. You're also going to have those strong winds from that right side front quadrant that's going to be coming into your area with hurricane force gusts and tropical storm sustained winds, at least for Wednesday afternoon and the Wednesday night. Then it'll quickly die down. But the system has 140 miles of tropical storm force winds extending out from the center, so we're bound to have at least an 80 to 90%, or I should say a 70 to 80% chance of experiencing that in the New Orleans metro. So you want to be prepared for that with flashlights, candles, solar powered generators, or regular generators if you have that, and use them, of course, in safety, because power outages are going to be a certainty in this area and up into the Mississippi Delta as well. So be very careful with that as well. I just want to bring that out because you guys are going to be on the right front quadrant side, New Orleans metro, and that area along I-10, I-12, Lake Pontchartrain. And please don't be out there doing any traveling as well, because the system will be continuing to make its way northward here, spewing heavy rain through Memphis, Paducah, up through the Boot Hill country of Missouri and southern Illinois as well, Carbondale, all you guys, later on this coming Saturday. But it will not be a significant rain as it's going to be in the bullseye area here along I-10 and I-12 here of the southern coast of Louisiana and Mississippi as well, coming up through 57 there, 59 I believe it is, heading up towards the Mississippi border there. So be very careful on those roads if you're out there tomorrow. Make the final preparations. You need to make your final preparations tomorrow afternoon for Francine to come in as a Category 1, borderline Category 2 hurricane. And then you need to evacuate if you're along the coast from anywhere from Cameron to the mouth of the Mississippi River, because a 5 to 10 foot surge is coming in there. A peak surge is coming in there, 5 to 10 feet, and that is something not to play with, because as the water rises, this continental shelf rises, this shallow water rises, it's going to push a lot of water into this bays here, up through Lake Pontchartrain. Even 3 to 5 feet of surge is forecasted in Lake Pontchartrain. That's going to be very heavy on the levees and the system, the flood system there. And so Category 2 storm is going to push that water up into the bay like that. So when it makes landfall, it's going to come in like this. The winds are going to come in from the south, very strong tropical storm force winds, maybe 40, gusting to 60 miles an hour, occasionally getting over 75. And then as it passes New Orleans and Lake Pontchartrain, the system, depending on where it landfall at, as it passes you guys to the northwest, the winds are going to come out of the east, southeast very fast, maybe 50 to 60 miles an hour. That's going to cause power outages and build up of water from Lake Pontchartrain to the levees and other places, and that's when the flooding will begin. And it's going to be a nighttime event, because once it passes you guys by Thursday morning, that's when you'll wake up and you'll see the flooding, some significant street flooding, power outages possible in the northern and western suburbs of New Orleans. And also out towards, like I said, Alexandria and Baton Rouge as well, because the winds are going to be coming like that from the east. And then as it passes up past in Mississippi and the Delta, you guys will finally be in the clear sometime Thursday, late Thursday afternoon, and things will subside along the bay, or the surge will begin to subside, of course, on the bays and inlets, but there'll still be more, flooding down there, of course, as the water tries to recede. And that's pretty much the story of Francine. It's going to be a flooding event. It's not a slow-moving storm like Harvey or any of these other systems that you guys had. Remember you guys had Zeta and Laura back in 2010? Something like that, but those are much powerful systems that came into Louisiana. This one is powerful. It's going to be formidable, but this is more of a rainmaker and a windmaker and a flooding event that's going to lead to down trees and power lines, things of that nature. Something that you can handle, but you definitely don't want to be outside doing this type of conditions here. Now, I wanted to show you let me see if I can get a picture of it here. I wanted to give you a picture of the intensifying storm here on satellite here, courtesy of Tropical Tidbits here. Let me just give you a picture of what it looks like right now. And this is why we're not going to see a rapid intensification scenario with Francine, which is good news. You can see the system is split into two zones here. Right now it's consolidating itself around the center here, but there's no eye. Of course, it's not a hurricane, but you can see heavy convection around the center and the south quadrant of the system, but you can see the dry air, a little bit of dry air is in training into the northwestern quadrant here. See how it's eroded there? And also you can see on the eastern side, the system is phased into two parts on the eastern side. This batch of rain here is going to hit New Orleans tonight. Not New Orleans, but the southern Louisiana coastline. And then see it's moving slowly, and that's moving, making that northeast turn now. But the convection really has cut off on the western flank side of it and the southwestern flank side of it right here. You can see these gaps in the convection band here. Now, and that's why it's slowing down, because it's dealing with wind shear. The wind shear, the northwesterly wind shear that's impacting the system here is causing it to slow down the rapid intensification. So that's why the Hurricane Center only has it as a Category 2. I shouldn't say only, but it's not going to be a major hurricane, but it's possible that it could be if it has the right conditions. The water temperatures are warm. There's not much dry air where it's at now. But the problem is, like I said, is once again that wind shear is affecting it, and it's fighting it right now. And when it gets close to the coastline, it will be able to strengthen and intensify. So that's why it will become a Category 1 hurricane, but not until 5 a.m. or 6 a.m. tomorrow morning when we get the update will it be a Category 1 hurricane. And then later on, it'll intensify the Category 2 hurricane as we get later on. So this has been your update tonight about Tropical Storm Francine. Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you on the next episode, guys.